Hello, travelers. Welcome to the Copper Fox Inn. Come on in, take a seat, and join us as we discuss Homebrew for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. My name is Thomas the Human Bard, and I am joined today by...
Mercy the Tiefling Wizard.
Onog the Half-Orc Barbarian.
Can you guys hear me?
Hello?
Over the sound of the crashing waves?
Yep. Yeah.
Bean, is that you,
yeah.
Bean?
Yes, I'm coming to you live from this boat. I had to go make a trip around the world, and I'm in a small dinghy off the coast of an island. Luckily, they have this sending stone. I'm allowed to use it to broadcast to you.
I like that you're also sort of Christopher Walken as well. You're doing...
Yes. No, that's how I have to talk to get over the sound of the crashing waves. I have to wait for them to break.
Waves.
Crashing waves. Yeah, I don't know why Christopher Walken came out there. But yeah, I'm on this boat here. I'm going on a journey. I'm actually moving across. I'm in the midst of moving across our land right now.
Yeah.
This great country we live in.
Redacted.
And so every now and then, there's a lot of mermaids out here,
Yeah.
and they've been calling to me. So every now and then, if you hear the sirens call,
Yeah. Stay in the boat.
distance
Stay in the boat.
from my urban hotel room, or my boat, then
I just
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
I'm very mad at everyone.
The sirens.
don't get it, Onog. Don't give in to the sirens call.
Tallow in the ears, Onog. Please, we'll strap you to the mast. On this very special episode of the Copper Fox Inn, we are catching up on our listener submissions that we have received at our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com, and on social media at thecopperfoxinn. If you have
Watch out, listeners. We're gonna catch you.
We're gonna catch you? What? Why?
Yeah, because you said we're catching up to them, right? We're trying to.
They're
trying
fleeing.
To catch
Okay, I see.
listeners.
They're on the
Right?
run. I didn't kill my wife. Yeah, exactly.
You try to unsubscribe, we'll find you.
We'll
We'll catch up to you.
If you want your homebrew featured on an episode and for us to give you some constructive feedback, send it to us at that email or on social media, and we'll add it to the list. We just hit 100 videos. Our 100th video.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so we've been doing this for a little while now, and I feel like we're finally starting to see some good traction. And so we want to kind of give back to the people who've been faithfully watching and commenting and sending us these submissions. And, there's always hot new stuff being posted every single day. But we got to make sure that we give these people the attention that they deserve. Because
But what about all our hot new subscribers? What about them?
And the hot old subscribers.
And all of our hot old subscribers.
Exactly. Everyone's so hot. And so we are covering 3 submissions on this episode, listeners. We'll be covering a magic item, a player race option, and a subclass. And we will give some feedback on each of those and make sure that they all get the attention they deserve. But we're going to do multiple in a video to make sure that we can start catching back up on this backlog we've got. So let's start off with our first magic item. This item is submitted by Shrugs-a-Lot. Shrugs-a-Lot, thank you. And also... This.
We have to indicate audibly that we're shrugging.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, it's an audio medium, correct. This magical item is the Bag of Shopping. It is a wondrous item and is rare. On first glance, it appears to be a normal bag of holding. But all that changes when you see the user of said item cram a bunch of loot they gained on their quest, pull the string that pokes out from the inside, and it inflates until it pops with a loud burst and a small shop storefront that has everything put into the bag as an item on the shelf.
I love that image.
Oh, so it's like a pop-up stand. You steal a bunch of stuff and you can immediately turn around and sell it. It's like a fence bag.
Yes, correct. Everything you sell in the storefront is sold for half the price it is worth. This item was created by an honest wizard who wanted to make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands, and if it does, they get punished. So, in order to carry out this, he installed each storefront with 5 golden stars, usually below the store sign, that, if they make too many customers dissatisfied, the stars will lessen. When there is none remaining, the bag turns to ash.
Oh my gosh.
So you have to keep
It has
up your
built-in Yelp.
Yelp
Yes.
review.
It has a built-in Yelp system.
I love that.
High risk, high reward. You can use your charisma to try and get people to buy at higher prices. But on every 5 fails, 1 star disappears on your storefront, and people are less likely to go to the shop. 3 stars or lower will bring in crowds that are likely to haggle.
Oh, okay, I get it. So it's a place for you to sell your stuff.
Yes.
I was
Correct.
kind of confused. At
Yes,
first.
it is a place for you to, like, you go into the dungeon, you put all the loot in the bag, you walk back into town, you pull the ripcord, and you have a pop-up corner store, and you're like, come on now, get your magic items, get your cursed swords, and it guarantees you a certain price. Like, you can always sell them for
You can always sell it for
at least half its worth.
Okay.
This is this
Okay,
is a
cool,
more
cool.
narratively focused item and a less mechanically focused item.
I love, in a lot of the stuff we've covered in this show, I feel like so many things are such good, just like world populating NPC, either classes or races or whatever. And I feel like this is a great, just like, item for an NPC to be using. Like, you go to a town and you see someone walk up and just like, boop, pop up their shop. Almost like the like beetle from Zelda who just like is everywhere with their pop-up shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, too, though, it solves a really common problem of you, like, are in the mountains and you loot a bunch of stuff. And then you're like, what do we do with all of this?
Yeah.
And so you can just cram it into the bag. And then when you get into town, you can just say, I pop up the shop for a day. And then sell all the stuff. Instead of, like, having to go around and try to figure out and finagle the issue of selling your loot. You're just
Right.
like, I sort of have a guaranteed way of selling it.
Yeah, it is kind of one of those items that sort of forces the DM to, like, take something into consideration.
Definitely.
Where it's like, if you've been having problems selling your stuff, then just be like, no, I made the shop where I sell my stuff.
Yep.
You know? Like, that's what
Right.
the item
The
is.
item brings crowds to the shop.
I love the sort of unknowable nature of that. You're like in the middle of the snowy mountain pass.
Yeah, do they have to be, once again, we come to does it have to be real people, or does it
Can
create fake
NPCs.
polar
It
bears
doesn't
come up to
say-
me and start shopping?
It does not say that it summons crowds. It just says that it is likely to bring people.
That's correct. Yeah, I think the overall idea, the flavor, the concept of this item is what really drew me to it. As far as the submissions that we've received, the formatting and the kind of language used is definitely more narrative than it is mechanic for D&D. And the thing is, there is room for that kind of stuff in the game. Some items in the game have very mechanically focused. They specifically reference dice rolls and advantage and saving throws and all that kind of stuff. And there are some items that are a little bit more narrative or nuanced that just say, well, you know, you can do this thing. That's just
Yeah, I like
part of it now. And I think that there's room in D&D for a little more of that than people often assume. People think, well, if I don't know exactly the mechanic for it, like, how can I do it at all? But, you know, D&D is a game where the dungeon master's rulings, like, trump everything else. Like, they're the most important thing at the end of the day. And if you as the DM have a cool way of introducing this magic item and you haven't figured out all the perfect mechanical details yet, just, like, roll with it and see how it goes narratively speaking and make it work for your group.
So I love the language here that it says just like people will be less likely to come, or it's more likely to attract people that will haggle. That's just kind of something that as a DM you can read that and go, okay, I know what this means. I'm able to interpret this for myself as a DM. I don't have to do something like, there is a 1 in 2d4 chance that
Right.
on the full moon, Dragonborn is likely to it's just like, you know, and then you have the common sense of like, okay, maybe if your party sets up shop at like the crossroads in the mountains, they might by the course of the day have met some people. And it doesn't say you have to play out each interaction. It just could be that maybe as a DM you're like, okay, you set up shop, make a general charisma check for me. And by the end, you're able to be like, yeah, you're able to sell most of your stuff at half price, but a couple things you have to sell a little bit lower because you just, you didn't quite pass a 15. You got a 14, so you're only okay. You can make any kind of ruling.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there's different types of D&D you can play, and a more narratively minded group can really lean into that, whereas a more mechanically minded group would be like, but what do I roll? But how do I know exactly what DC I have to beat, and how does it do this exactly? What are the mechanics? And it's like, this item won't work at every table, but I think there's something really interesting here for kind of narratively focused DMing styles, and there's potential here for if somebody does some mechanical work slotting this into the appropriate D&D systems. There could be some cool mechanics involved with this. Exactly how many times per day you can try your charisma, like how does it work in bringing customers to you, all that kind of stuff could be very interesting to explore for someone more mechanically minded.
I like that it does give you that freedom, like you were saying, Bean, where if you want to just roleplay through every interaction and that's something that's going to be fun for the whole table, you can, but it also, because it is more loose mechanically, you can also just say, let's just make this a roll and move on because we have things we want to get to.
Yeah.
And that freedom, I think, is useful.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much, Shrugs a lot, for your submission.
My overall impression of it?
My overall impression? 5 stars, 5 golden stars, but make sure that you keep making good homebrew, or else those stars are going to start going down. And then we're going to start haggling for better prices.
Oh my goodness, and then Shrugs a lot will turn to ash.
Oh no!
Oh no! What have we done?
Okay out there, Shrugs a lot. Keep up the good work.
5 shrugs for this.
5 shrugs out of 5.
Dude, I bet Shrugs a lot shoulders are massive.
Barbarian, of course.
It's got major traps.
Our next topic that we'll be covering is a race option submitted by Jollibee Johansson. We have discussed Jollibee before on the channel.
We have.
Some items from them, and they sent in a player race option for us to discuss.
I'm just gonna go ahead and read you some flavor text here to start off. You could hear a feather hit the ground when I walked into the room. The eyes of the multitude were fixed upon my fluctuating form. I could see it on their faces. They were attempting to hold back laughter. That's fine. I'm used to it. I'm looking for a goblin encampment that might have passed through this town. Any ideas as to where that may be? I heard the goblin before he threw his knife. I moved my torso to the side just before I was pierced, and I twisted my head fully around to look at him. Oh, that was quick. Gregarious, the monster hunter. Air Dancer. A fairly new race to the land, air dancers have their origins as air elementals, or simply wind magic trapped in colorful bags built for advertising carriage makers and horse ranches. Whether awakened before or after trapped within their fluid prison, some of these balloon dancers have learned how to move their limbs on their own, though admittedly it's not exact control. So they're just those things on the side of the highway.
Oh my gosh. As a Family Guy would call it, the wacky, incredible, flailing arm, flailing tube man.
Yeah, as a player race.
Can I say I am relieved, even though this isn't any less horrifying? But that original description, without the context of the air dancing aspect of it, was scaring me to beyond reason. It was very disquieting.
That initial...
I felt like it was a romance novel.
Well, that's just because of Mercy's natural charisma.
I actually, a little insight into my life, I do professionally narrate audiobooks of romance novels, so I was channeling some of that.
You were channeling your other
I knew
words.
I'd heard that voice somewhere before.
I was immediately won over by that flavor text at the beginning when it was sent over. I was like, oh, this is good stuff. Yes. The writing in this whole thing is delightful.
It's one of those classic, like, you mad lad, you've done it.
How dare you?
Okay, no, wait. I just want to picture this. So, like, he walked into the room. I'd seen him before many times. My eyes always fell on him. His hand brushed my leg.
Sorry, he said. I don't really have control over my limbs. Bean's already working on some fanfic.
He had a tube He was made of a tube that went all the way up.
Oh my.
I don't know what that means.
Oh man, this is very good, very good, very good.
Let's continue.
All right.
I am filled with hate and despair.
As always, you can look at the full documents in the link in the description, but we're going to skip ahead a little bit just for time since we have a few that we're going to cover today and jump to the Air Dancer traits. So you get an ability score increase, your charisma score increases by 2, and your dexterity increases by 1. Fair, you're probably pretty limber, I'd say, and you just strike delight into the hearts of all who see you, so that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Age. Air dancers do not age in the traditional way, but eventually the wear and tear can be too great and the air elemental can escape its shell.
Oh no.
When that happens, the air dancer is in practical terms dead, unless it can find a suitable replacement body and is collected and cognizant enough to even attempt. Alignment.
Oh.
Most awakened air dancers tend toward neutral alignments, preferring to explore this wondrous new world they've been awakened to. Air dancers that are magically trapped air elementals tend to be more fueled by vengeance and rage, and thus have a tendency to gravitate towards more evil and chaotic alignments. I love that.
Wait.
Why? Size.
No.
Most air dancers need to be seen between buildings and on horseback, so they're built to be rather tall, roughly 7 feet fully outstretched.
I disagree. We should be 50 feet at least.
Yeah, at least. However...
50 feet is a lot, Thomas. That's more. 50 feet is more than you think it is.
No.
Every paragraph makes this more horrifying.
Oh, don't worry. The best is the racial feat at the end, but we'll get to
The
it.
best.
No.
Oh, the best is yet to come, Ona. However, the constant battering of both internal and external wind means in practical terms they rarely stand fully up and average around 6 1/4 feet. Your size is medium. Speed, your base walking speed is 25 feet. Slippery. Oh, I guess we know where they fall on that spectrum.
They are the slippery.
They are the slippery. Due to your fluid nature, you are incredibly difficult to grab. Enemies attempting to grapple you have disadvantage. That's pretty handy.
Yeah.
That's handy
Although
if you're
you
like a
can be
barbarian.
You can be used to restrain someone if they get a good enough grab on you.
They can tie you up in a knot. Yeah.
Natural salesman. When attempting to sell an item, you have advantage on your persuasion checks.
What?
Because they're used for
Especially
marketing. Because they're advertising.
Come on
Down to Bill's used car lot.
Yeah, very good. I really like that. Lightweight. It is incredibly difficult for most to return to their feet, but wind is a powerful thing. When knocked prone, you may use your reaction to immediately get back to your, hooves? You can stand up as a reaction.
Like what are
What connects
Why
you to
did
the
it
ground?
say hoof
We-
as the first option, though? Why didn't it say feet?
Well, because you're
Is
just a tube that goes all the way down.
It's like a
I know, but
solid
why does
hoof.
it end-
Your base.
Or it's
There's
like
no
that's
toes.
that's the fan. It's like a giant metal.
Yeah, the fan. Yeah, we had this problem come up with the what was it, the Muppet Born,
Oh, yeah.
where it was like you can never see their legs, like they're always obscured behind something.
Like no
Yeah.
matter what.
Man, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I love the way that was written, by the way. This A+ for the writing. Float gracefully downwards. You have resistance to damage dealt from falling great heights. That tracks. Fluctuating stature. It is incredibly difficult to stay in a single position. Characters talking to you have to awkwardly follow your head as you're bobbing all over the place. This also makes it difficult for you to see. You have disadvantage on insight checks.
I would say maybe.
Wouldn't that be?
Yeah, I would say
perception?
maybe also perception.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be perception there instead of insight when I read it. I would
But-
be interested to
I
know
get the idea. I get the
the
idea.
reasoning
Maybe-
for that.
Maybe if it was
Yeah.
perception checks involving sight.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Specifically?
that's fair because perception
Yeah,
is like
yeah.
all your senses.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what the thought behind that was for what.
Well, you're
choice
like, I
there
want to
is.
get a read on them, and then they're like, okay, as you try to look at them, you're only able to get glimpses of
Is it like
them.
you can't
so-
maintain eye contact, so you can't
Yeah,
like
you're
get a
like-
read on someone.
It honestly could just be kind of just a metagame call of where it's like if you made it so that they just have disadvantage on all perception all the time,
That's
always,
pretty
It
bad.
would just suck.
then that's
Yeah.
because perception is literally
Yeah.
the highest used stat
But-
in the game. So maybe they were just like, I want it to negate a wisdom trait, but not
That's fair.
perception.
To be-
Insight is the next.
Yeah.
reasonable
Yeah,
step.
to be
It's
fair
not
though,
bad.
they've received quite a few powerful abilities.
Well, that's the
So
thing,
maybe
yeah.
one or two to kind of knock them back down might be needed.
This is a give and take
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
This is a lot you gain, but a lot you lose at the same time.
Yeah, I think that has to be there. You have to have disadvantage on something because you're getting so much. But I mean, truly, you have the perfect body. I mean, who wouldn't want to be this?
You may not like it, but this is what peak athleticism looks like.
So racial feat pop.
No.
I was just waiting for the reaction to that one.
Keep going.
Prerequisites.
Kill it.
Air dancer, and
Kill it like the
strength of
rest.
15 or above. You may use a reaction to release the contents of your bag quickly and explosively.
I don't ever want to hear that sentence
I
again.
know, out of context, that's real bad. Creatures standing within 50 feet of you must make a Constitution saving throw against your Constitution value plus your proficiency bonus. On a failed save, the target takes 10d10 force damage, or half as much on a successful save. This feat can be used when you are reduced to 0 hit points or when you fail a death saving throw. So it's
you're
very
saying that
powerful,
when
but
you-
it's because you're dying.
Yeah.
When you die, you can choose to explode.
This is like
Correct.
that. What was that other one that did
The
that?
undead guy.
Yeah,
The undead
yeah.
warlock.
There's a warlock that
Yeah,
exploding
the
witch.
exploding zombie warlock. Yeah.
Oh, that was such a
But
good
he
one.
wasn't cute and flaily and happy. Like, you've got a painted on happy face, and you start to go, and you're going, and you look up at your companions, and you're like,
Goodbye, friends.
duck.
This doesn't say that it kills you faster or anything. It
When
just
you
says
die.
that
Yeah.
when you are brought to 0 hit points, you can just choose to explode.
Yeah.
And then in normal circumstances, you can be brought back.
No, but I'm saying just like the vision of like you are dying and the last thing you choose to do. Because like with the warlock, I'm like, oh, heck yeah, explode on the way out. But because it's one of these guys, it just is, I don't know, it's so sad to me.
I like the drama of it though, where you're like, go on, I'm done for. I'll take as many of them with me as I can. And you wiggle your way into the crowd. And then you explode.
On your hoof.
On your hoof.
This is such a fun one.
I hate it.
All right, and here's another racial feat.
The final racial feat.
This would be disgusting on any other race. As if the last one wasn't.
It's disgusting on this one, I can guarantee it.
All right, prerequisites are air dancer and constitution or dexterity of 15 or above. You have mastered the ability to move in your constructed body, which is the new way I'm gonna say when I've like done something well in yoga or something. You may alter yourself to twist and bend in any direction you wish to avoid attacks. When taking the dodge action, any attack against you from a perpetrator that you can see automatically fails, and attacks from enemies you cannot see have disadvantage. You may also simply twist your head completely around to survey an area. You have advantage on perception checks. Okay, so literally when we were like, wait,
Now
we
we're
should
giving
get,
them
yeah,
advantage.
they have advantage. This is
they're too powerful.
They're guys.
They're too powerful.
Who knew that those noodle boys were OP?
Yeah, the wacky tube men are the strongest race in
Truly
D&D.
a perfect body.
To be fair, the smothering carpet is like a very dangerous
Yeah.
That's fair.
monster. And this
Maybe-
is basically that, but with air.
This is the only worthy opponent.
Oh, let them fight.
Did
A
you guys
perfect
know
warrior.
that those noodle boys in the I don't know why I'm gonna say these words, but in the real world, in the real world, those noodle boys were not created for the purpose of advertising and strangeness. They were created by an incredibly avant-garde, very legitimate artist for the opening ceremonies of the Olympics.
Really?
And they popped up all over the stadium. And so they were this like, super avant-garde.
And then after
art
that, I'm assuming they were
installation.
all
And now-
out of work looking for jobs. They could only get hired at like car dealerships.
Yeah, exactly.
Classic. It's a
great.
classic story.
So if I were playing one of these, I would be like, I used to be a great performer. I performed at the Olympics.
The entertainer background.
Picture
Yeah.
being in the unemployment line, and in front of you is just like a wavy inflatable tube man, and he's like,
Man.
"Hey, times are rough on everybody, buddy." You know what I'm saying?
Man, this guy gets it.
He gets it.
So this one is just a blast. Just a real
Oh, it's
fun
so good.
time.
What a wonderful nightmare I've been shown.
Overall, honestly, my feedback might be that it's slightly overtuned. I think they're a little too powerful.
Frightening.
Yeah.
I feel like since you're literally a plastic bag wrapped around air, you should have some kind of negative to your constitution, your HP, or something. You should
what if
be
you were
weak.
you should be weak to slashing and piercing damage?
Yeah, that would balance this right out. But
yeah.
I get it's having negative traits sucks. No one
does.
likes that, and I understand that. But this is you put this against just a regular, dwarf or something. I feel like this is gonna beat it in a fight every time.
Could you, just as a little thing, add that you can be healed by the mending spell?
Look, get over it. Every construct race can't be healed by the mending spell.
I feel like the
so
thumbnail for this
good,
episode is just a noodle boy and the text, "You may not like it, but this is what a perfect body looks like." I think that's it.
You may not like it, but mending does not fix this.
Real women flail.
Real women have a hoof.
Stop! Thank you, Jolly B. Johnson.
Take
Yes.
us out. Take us
I'm
out.
steering the ship out of here. Jolly B, thanks for your submission. You always make fantastic stuff that's a riot. It's a blast to read through it. Keep up the good work.
I hated every second of this.
Everything you've made, Onog has deeply disliked in that way that he also really likes it. So we appreciate that.
That's how Onog feels about me in general.
Very good. We'll move on.
I'm not hearing enough.
We'll move on to our final topic of the episode. This final item we're going to discuss is a subclass option for the monk class. This was submitted by Nele Zaveri. Thank you for your submission. You may not recognize that name, but you will recognize that this is the second homebrew they've created. Their first was 3 halflings in a trench coat. So
Iconic.
the iconic 3 halflings in a trench coat. This is a
I
more
recognize the
serious
name.
take in some ways, and in other ways,
Is it?
In some
Yes.
ways.
Watch Nele Zaveri be
homebrew-
like, "How dare you? That 3 halflings in a trench coat was my magnum opus. My father's favorite D&D character is those halflings in a trench coat. Steve. Yeah.
the one they call Steve.
Yes.
This monastic tradition is the way of the rippling muscle. A person's body is no mere vessel. It is an instrument, capable of great feats when tuned right and in the hands of a capable wielder.
Oh no. Oh no. If one of the noodle boys took this
Okay.
subclass,
Too powerful.
No.
that's all I'm going to be picturing the whole time.
Practitioners of the way of the rippling muscle combine speed and agility with overwhelming power. Their body is a restaurant, and they serve knuckle sandwiches exclusively.
Yes! Real quick, though, when they say the body's not a vessel, it's an instrument capable of feats when in the hands of a capable wielder, do they mean like someone working out their body, or do they mean another person
Wielding
picking you
your
up
body.
and wielding your body? Like
That is sadly not what this subclass is about, but now I do want to see a barbarian subclass in which you become proficient in wielding other beings as your weapon.
Maybe because we were just talking about romance novels, that did, when being the way you said
It's
it,
a
did sound
little
like a
bit.
weird
It's a little
pickup line,
erotic.
like, I want you to
Yeah.
wield my body
Yeah, okay.
like a weapon.
Let's move on.
I am not saying that's not how I feel sometimes.
Bonus proficiency. When you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the athletics skill. If you're already proficient in this skill, you gain expertise instead. Macho Menace. When you choose this tradition at 3rd level, you make a commitment to inner strength. Weapons are a distraction. You can no longer add your proficiency bonus to attacks made with weapons.
Oh.
Oh no.
When you make
Unless that weapon is a person.
Well,
Yeah, well, yes.
No. I told you that's not what this subclass.
Oh, sorry.
When you make a grapple check, you can make 1 unarmed strike as a bonus action. Your
Okay.
strikes are backed up with immense force. You deal 1 additional point of bludgeoning damage with unarmed strikes.
Dope.
You may use your strength modifier in place of your dexterity modifier when calculating your unarmored defense.
Like, literally, you just flex so hard that swords bounce off you.
Your muscles are like
So
Kevlar.
it would be instead of dexterity, it would be strength and wisdom instead of dexterity.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
a monk build.
yeah.
It's a strength build monk. Look. To peel back the facade, it's a strength build monk. But come on. Adventure with me for a moment.
I mean, like,
No, I know.
it's that classic thing in the kung fu movies. You always have the, like, super fast, and then the bad gang shows up, and one of their guys is just,
Yeah.
You know.
This
yeah.
is the big Santa from Jingle All the Way, the Santa fight,
yes.
where Arnold Schwarzenegger
Oh
fights all the
Oh,
Santas.
gosh.
Goodness gracious,
Yes.
it is.
The
This
one
is the
big
big
Santa.
Santa. If you don't have a gif of the big Santa stretching his suspenders,
Yeah, we'll put it-
saying, I'm gonna deck your halls, bub.
We'll put it in the show.
Man, what a bad movie.
How dare you!
What a glorious movie.
I just thought I'd come out with that inflammatory take.
Comment section, destroy Mercy in the comments. No, you do not have permission. You do not. I rescind. But that is a bad take. Himbo Energy,
Oh yeah.
which is a new energy drink I've come out with. It'll be right beside, Monster and all the rest.
That's the
Red Bull.
Respect Women juice everyone keeps
The
talking
Respect
about.
Women
Yeah.
juice, yes.
I would drink the heck out of that. I play himbos so often.
You do?
Like, I'm playing a barbarian right now who is a 15-year-old girl, and even though she is that, she is still a himbo. Like,
I would
deep
argue
down.
that you are a chronic himbo player.
Oh my gosh.
And it may be
I
fatal.
can't not play himbo.
There is no cure.
There is no cure. At 6th level, you can use muscles that most people do not even know exist to mitigate damage.
No.
If you take
Like your nose muscles.
Yeah. Weird tertiary muscles in your foot. If you take bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, you can reduce that damage by 1d12 plus your strength modifier as a reaction. You can
Okay.
push a creature up to 10 feet away from you using the shove action. Overall, you can see where we're going with this. We're creating a brick house of a monk.
Yeah.
Who's,
You might say, like, I'm a rippling muscle knot
yes, exactly, that kind of thing.
woman. I can't quote that here.
Yes. Because you drank your himbo energy, respect women.
Yeah, I
juice.
drank my himbo energy and I respect women.
Correct.
Thank you.
Ultimate Flex. At 11th level, you gain the powerful build trait if you do not possess it already. You count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity and the weight you can push, drag, or lift.
Yep.
You can now grapple creatures that are 2 size categories larger than you.
Oh my.
Moving a grappled creature imposes no penalties on your movement speed.
Wow.
Okay.
You can pick up a person and run with them.
It's like oh man, I can't remember what is that video game I saw like a preview for or something where one of the characters how their mounting is they pick up a horse over their shoulder and now they walk faster. Like this is
you were
that.
talking about this before.
That's amazing.
think
I was
it's,
gonna say it's like when you're an uncle and you pick up like the 5-year-old nephew and like you're just holding him and he's like struggling around and you just carry him around at the barbecue.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean?
That's classic.
I think it's Heroes of the Storm, Mercy. You can use your athletics skill in place of your intimidation skill for intimidation checks.
nice.
record,
Okay.
That's
you
a thing-
can often do. First of all, I love doing that.
No, see,
I
you
used
can
to-
often use your strength to make an intimidation check.
Oh, okay.
But this lets you use your athletics skill, which
There we
you
go.
have
Yes.
probably expertise
So
in.
that will be stronger.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's a way of saying, because sometimes that's one of those things that can be a little bit of tension between a player and a DM where they're like, no, let me use this
Strength
skill
or
check for
whatever,
this. Whereas this is another way of saying, like, no, it says in the book, I can do that.
Let me do it. Yes.
Literally, my muscles are so big, it's automatically intimidating.
I am
Scary.
scary.
I'm like, that kind of scary where you're also a little aroused. We all get that, right?
Vampire
That's how
mom.
Vampire mom, tall vampire mom. That's how everyone feels around you all the time.
Wow.
Don't call her vampire mom.
Use the word mom.
Y'all know Big
Can we
Vampire
not- can we-
Mommy. You know the one.
We've all seen her.
Yeah, see, but that's different.
we've
That's
all-
different.
Mommy's okay, but not mom.
No, we're talking about my mom. She's a big vampire.
Thomas, you're a vampire
makes it
this
much
whole
worse.
time?
No, my
Oh,
mom's
wait,
a
that's right, you're
vampire.
adopted.
I am a dampier.
That's right.
You've been a dampier this whole
Yeah.
time.
Too swole to control.
Hey.
That's what I like to say as I go jogging for the day. Come
That's
back
what I
from
say
jogging.
when I stub my toe really bad.
Oh, womp womp.
Okay. At 17th level, you've turned your body into a devastating force of nature. Your strength score and maximum strength score both increase by 2. You gain the Siege Monster trait. You deal double damage to objects and structures!
Heck love that.
We have been championing giving this trait to a subclass for, I don't know,
Ever?
30 years now at this point?
30, 50.
On this,
yeah.
on this podcast.
Yeah.
For
Yes,
30
we
years.
are all on this podcast above the age of 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we've been broadcasting this podcast for hundreds of years, and only recently has it begun reaching Earth.
Bean, this
Yeah.
podcast's been broadcasting for 50 years.
This podcast burned
We
down
finally
40
just got
years ago.
this guy who fell through a Burger King showed
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
we've been
Oh,
using
no.
this
We,
podcasting equipment.
No.
we wish.
It's lonely.
If anyone who's ever fallen through a Burger King wants to show up, a portal behind a Burger King wants to show up on our podcast, the offer is open.
The answer is yes.
As a bonus action, if you are grappling a creature, you can expend 1 key point. Remember how this is a monk
Oh, right,
class?
it's a monk.
Oh, right.
You can expend 1 key point to launch yourself 10 feet straight up and slam down onto the ground,
Woo!
dealing 1d12
Yes.
bludgeoning damage to the creature
Yes.
for every 10 feet fallen. You can jump an additional 10 feet for every key point you spend past the
Wow.
first to a maximum of 10 key points.
That is so anime. Anytime that you have like a ground pound ability in any sort of like combat video game, it's like all I do just because it's so fun and cool.
Here's the question. Is this the best Bowser in D&D?
I think this is the best Donkey Kong.
Very good.
Okay.
That's my
Also
one
acceptable.
Nintendo reference I can make.
Yep. That's the one you get. The
Yeah.
one you're allowed in.
She's
your-
legally
know
prohibited
about
from
it.
making the
Yeah,
others.
no,
It's
I know a
monkey.
lot about Nintendo.
Nintendo-
I just am restricted.
Yeah, Nintendo asked you to stop. All right, Onog. Overall, you're the person we turn to judge the, the effectiveness, the combat effectiveness, the mechanical, cleanness of a subclass. What thoughts do you have on this way of the rippling muscle? There's a lot of fun to be had here. Don't get me wrong. As far as
it's a very fun.
actually
do you want me?
combat proficiency,
Do you want me to go?
go for it?
Do you want me to do it? Okay, hold on.
Oh.
All right.
Welcome to
my.
Onog.
So-
what's
the
the
crutch corner. What was it? The
what was your
Homebrews Power Onog Homebrew Power Hour.
Onog's?
Yeah, the homebrew power hour that we did
Yes.
once and
All right,
nobody
welcome back
watched.
to the Power Hour, everyone.
Now it's a podcast within
All
a
right,
podcast.
so I love the idea of this character. There is a bit of a semantic issue that is, it's not the creator's fault. It is actually a heavily debated concept around D&D itself. In the Macho Menace at 3rd level, you can no longer add your proficiency bonus attacks made with weapons. There's actually a huge debate on what actually counts as a
Are
weapon.
unarmed strikes weapons or
Because
not?
yeah, like do unarmed strikes count as a weapon? No, but do natural weapons from animals are considered weapons, and so
if your player race gives you a natural weapon,
then suddenly you're bad at it, and
Yeah.
it's even though it's your actual claws. So I would work on maybe the wording around that. Like I understand what they're trying to get at because they want to even more incentivize using your unarmed strikes. But that particular wording is, as a rules as written, like knocks out a bunch of stuff that I think were not intended to
That's
be
a good
knocked
point.
out.
What if it was just phrased as like used with either your like bare hands or body parts with like
Yeah.
body
Maybe-
martial arts strikes?
I was
This is a scenario in which I think being more vague is actually going to be more beneficial.
yeah.
Because this specific, like it knocks out, like if you have a transformation or if you are transformed, suddenly the things that are counted as quote unquote natural weapons, you're bad at them now when you should be good at them, or you should be even better at them.
Yeah, definitely.
The other thing is that we all kind of noticed this a little bit, is that we all went, oh yeah, this is a monk subclass.
Yeah.
A lot of, and this isn't always the case, but a lot of monk subclasses as early as 3rd level want to have something to help you utilize your key points with. And I think maybe shifting a few things around or adding maybe something that actually benefits and or is something else to utilize your key points with would be really, really cool, and add just that extra bit of spice to this. I just love the flavor. I love all of the abilities, but like I said, like maybe shifting some things around would make it like flow a little better into itself. The other thing, and this isn't anything to do with this build, but it's kind of like everybody keeps trying to make a strength monk.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And is very hard because you have to, like, you know, like we see in Macho Menace, like you have to retcon and like actively readjust already existing abilities in the monk, which is really fine. But so much of the monk, like primary class, is tied up in dexterity.
Yeah.
That to retcon all of it basically means like, well, if you're retconning this many established abilities of a monk, why is it a monk? Yeah, I think a lot what could be beneficial, and I might have said this the last time we did a strength monk, is maybe taking the concept of trying to make a strength monk from a barbarian direction. And I think that will be a little like, instead of making a monk that's a barbarian, try making a barbarian that's a little more monk. And I think
cool.
it might be at least flavor-wise and mechanically a little more familiar, a little more similar to what you are going for. Because like with this, you know, if you were to make this monk, he'd be super strong, he'd be rad, he'd be punching through walls and stuff. And then the moment anyone shot him with a ranged weapon, he can't use half of his abilities because they all rely on his dexterity. But if you've pumped all your stats into strength,
Yeah.
all of his dexterity abilities are stone cold useless.
Yeah.
And that is my only critique.
That's very fair.
I love jumping on people. I have made so many experimental like player characters that the whole point is that they literally just jump on people, and this is amazing.
I love what you said, the idea of coming at the monk from the barbarian side instead of the other way around. And I think it would be a really interesting kind of exercise where the sword singer, the blade singer wizard is kind of a wizard that gets some fighter stuff. And then the arcane or the eldritch knight, is a fighter who gets some wizard stuff. It would be really interesting to have a barbarian who, as they get their subclass, they, you know, their asceticism or whatever it is, they get key points. That just as much as like an Eldritch Knight gets spell slots, they start using some, instead of multi-classing into monk, it's a full barbarian, but now they have a way to like work with what the monk can work with in a different and unique
or like
way.
a way to utilize rage as key points or something like that, or in a similar vein. Like that'd be really interesting.
I think there's a lot to like explore in that space. I think that's really interesting stuff. Thank you so much again, Nalei Zaveri, for not only this, but you know the beautiful magnum opus, the 3 halflings in a trench coat.
We'll never forget.
We will never forget you. Insert the black and white image of 3 halflings in a trench coat with "My heart will go on."
You know what's a weird thing about gnomes is that we can't sit on each other's shoulders. And so, like, you'll try to do the
It has to be halfway.
Yeah, you try to do the trench coat thing, and it just really doesn't work. Like, you know, our heads
You're
are a
too
little
top
bit too
heavy.
big.
It like doesn't fit.
Yeah.
No, gnome shoulders are naturally more rounded.
Yeah. We're
Gnomes
a
are
little
magically
more slopey.
cursed that they cannot stack.
Unstackable.
They would be too powerful otherwise. That's how they've been balanced.
It's like trying to stack eggs on top of each other. It's just not a thing.
Yeah, it's like you get a bunch of gnomes, and it's like when you get a thing of Tupperware, and you're like, these don't stack. Like what? They look like they would.
They don't go together. Yeah, they should be able to.
Fourth-dimensional wizardry.
Why would you make them like
you
this?
can get us for a
I don't
second,
know.
and then you'll close the trench coat, and then when you open it, a bunch of just Tupperware lids fall out, and there are no more gnomes.
That's fantastic.
I love that.
That's a better subclass than I think you realize it is.
It's.
A
I mean,
stack
you're
of
laughing,
Tupperware.
but like, dozens of gnome lives are lost to that.
No. Oh no.
No.
Now I need to create like a recurring NPC in one of my games who like you throw their cloak back and it's just a pile of Tupperware that topples
Clatters
over.
out of it,
yeah, and
like
you're
a
like,
cupboard.
where was the person though? we were talking to
Okay,
them.
no, they don't. They don't throw their cloak back. They can like sneak into a closet. They step into a closet, and you're like, I know you're in there, and you open it, and a bunch of crowded Tupperware falls out, and you're like, what?
How?
That's brilliant.
That's so good.
Or
Thanks so
you
much.
pocket something, you steal something from them, you pocket it, and then when they reach in to try to pull it back out, it's just tangled earbuds.
Wait, guys, we have a wonderful opportunity to initiate a homebrew in this scenario, because that's like basically a Dark Souls spell designed for like fighting invading like enemy players. Is you can literally cast a spell on yourself where you just are a barrel.
Oh, right. You look like the environment. Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe something akin to like minor illusion or like silent image, but it's like a transmutation where you physically become a part of the environment in order to hide, as opposed to just merely illusing to look like
That's
it.
very
I
good.
love that.
You can use Misty Step as many times you want in a day, but you will drop a dozen Tupperwares behind you.
Behind you.
That's so
trail of
good.
Tupperware.
Oh man, I like that.
Well, maybe we'll do an episode where we have some fun home brewing together. We actually are looking for what you would be interested in seeing more of from us, listeners. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. We appreciate all the homebrews that have been sent in, and we've got a couple more that we're gonna cover in another video soon. We're gonna keep up on those, and we won't cover every single thing that we get sent because it's just too much to keep up with all the time, but we'll try to, anytime that one's really interesting, we think you guys would appreciate it, or we think that there's some really good feedback that's worth us discussing, we'll make sure to feature it on the show. And if you have ideas for content that you would like us to do that you haven't seen us do yet, please let us know about it. After making 100 videos, finally breaking 500 subscribers, we feel like we've got some good momentum going, and we'd love to broaden our perspective on, or broaden our horizons on YouTube. Is there something that you'd like to see from our channel that you haven't seen yet? Would you like to watch us homebrew something in real time? Do you want to see us stream a D&D game? Whatever you would like from a D&D channel, let us know in the comments below, and we'll see if that might be something that our channel could do in the future.
Do you want to see what Onog looks like?
Is that all you want?
No one wants to see that.
I want to see it.
Bean's upset because she's never seen
You know what I
Onog,
look.
apparently.
Never once. have I
Never
seen
once.
Onog.
No.
Every time she throws back his cloak, he's a stack of Tupperware.
I love that.
Well, final reminder, if you have homebrew you'd like us to discuss, you can email it to us at thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com. Send it to us on social media at thecopperfoxinn. Thank you so much for listening. Remember to subscribe to the channel for future D&D homebrew discussion content. And until next time, keep on adventuring.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys, if a 3-cream became one of these Ripley boys and they had their double arms and their jump ability,
What?
Oh no.
You can't. The Ripley Boys are also a race.
No, wave the rippling muscle.
rippling
This is
muscle.
rippling muscle.
No,
when
the
you said
strong
Ripley
one.
Boys, I thought you meant the two boys. I was like, they become a balloon man? What are you talking about?